living in a world where diversity, equity, inclusion are hot topics. But we have to look at why are they hot topics. It's because we have a lot of systemic barriers within our society. Our systems are not built for the diverse society, this multicultural society, to actually coexist equally or equitably. And, you know, we hear all these words, but I think we're kind of confusing it. But in terms of the IAP2 sense, I think, from my understanding is, we as a IAP2 organization, globally, nationally, and chapters, we have this common understanding of what it is, but it's up to each chapter to adapt according to their culture, their norms, and, you know, and their techniques, like how are they going to play out. But there is racism, and I think that's what we have to start talking about. I think we can't shy away. And if as IAP2 professionals, we have to have those tough conversations. We are brought in to have these tough conversations. And if we as professionals can't come up with the tools and the methods and let people know how to go about authentic engagement, which includes having these tough conversations on racism, injustice, we're not going anywhere. We're going to be doing the same old thing with the same old results. And my biggest fear always is, because having been in government, is that government will use IAP2 or a public engagement strategies to their advantage as a tick box. You want to be more than just a tick box. And, you know, so I think we have to be careful and make sure the planning, that we hear people's views on how they view diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like, what does that stem from? Because at the end of the day, why are we usually brought into the public realm? Is to make better decisions, to lead change. But are we hearing from the voices that are missing? How, you know, I've worked at all 3 levels of government, and usually when they're going out to go and hear from community, they hear from the same people that either support them, or they know what they're going to say. They've got the strategies of how to mitigate these issues. But having those tough conversations is a whole new issues management for them. So I think, you know, and I've seen IAP2 evolve. Like, a lot of people are, like, when I was a communications professional, and when I entered this field, there was no engagement. It was not a formalized part of the practice. So I've seen IAP2 in the last few years grow, but I think, you know, you have to be careful that, you know, we as a profession remain somewhat neutral and strong to our ethics and our core and what we practice. But we also know, as an organization, we've kind of shied away from having these tough conversations. Diversity isn't just about the color of your skin. It's about where you come from, who you are, you know, sexual orientation, gender, age. There's so much. And we live in a democracy, so we should be able to provide all this, like, these avenues, these tools, these methods, but it's just not there. Because I can tell you, even working in government, it's the same old thing, same way. Check.
What are some of the barriers that you're seeing that are keeping the underheard, the seldom heard people from getting their voice in there?
I think a lot of people don't understand the context. They don't understand why they're involved. We as humans only get involved in things that impact us. So are we framing the question right? Are we communicating it right? How are we communicating it? What language is being used? It's just recent, you know, not all government agencies translate, and should they have to, it's an additional cost. It takes a lot of time. To do things that are inclusive takes a lot of time. I can tell you, I worked on one community dialogue, and it was an eye-opener for me, because when I thought of accessibility, it's just making sure, you know, you've got the technology and all that, but because I'm an able-bodied person, I don't know how those with, you know, disabilities, hearing, visual, physical, are going to be able to participate. So I think we need to first, as a society, understand what diversity, equity, and inclusion really is. And not until we are on the same page on that can we actually build together on it. And when things are forced upon you, just like with my kids, for example, they won't do it. You have to provide that understanding, and that's what the general with the general public. And the minute you bring anything with race and racism, people's backs are up. So I think with this committee, like for me, I don't have a concrete plan. I think this is going to be a fluid plan of how the task force evolves, what comes out of it. I'm interested to see what the RFP kind of holds and what ideas are going to come back and what we can actually take out of this. For me, it's about learning. And also, I'm going to be a little bit biased because I've got personal lived experience. I'm a person of color. I'm a woman. Used to be a youth, but I've had all these jeopardies, and I can feel and I see it. And I think growing up, I'm a first generation Canadian. You just adapt to these systems because that's what you're also told to do. I know I've been discriminated against. I know I'm still discriminated against, but I am also very scared to kind of bring it up. And one thing is, me being a person of color and a visible minority and a woman, I don't think it's my job per se to be leading this cause. It's my job to create the awareness, because I'm also afraid of retaliation of what's going to come out of this. So I think for me, I'm comfortable enough and I feel supported with this organization enough that I feel comfortable to raise concerns and to generate the awareness. But in order to advance this cause, I will need the support of the larger membership.
About the task force, how much do you know about the work it's done so far?
Well, I've been welcomed into the shared drive, the Google Drive of how it stemmed and the research done to date. I've got the request for proposal right here. And when I asked, and I don't even think that the task force itself really knows how to go about this. So I think they're really looking for direction. And I think where I want to, I'm very passionate about this. So what I'll be doing is actually seeing what the current literature here is, who's leading the research here, what's their background, what's their perspective, what are the gaps. So I think for me, this is going to be a personal learning journey as well, and a professional, and how can I contribute to some change for the better.